So it's exactly a year to the day since I did my meniscus knee operation. So today's session is going to be all about celebrating leg movement. So essentially that complicated thing known as stretching, straightening and bending. So we're going to start off with a very nice baby pose, but I want it to be supported at least initially. So grab a cushion or a bolster or whatever you've got. And we'll lie down. And the cushion can just support your bottom, like so. So make sure you're really nice and comfortable. And just spend a moment feeling the tummy just dissolving onto the back, which is supporting it. And enjoying this feeling of release. Do at least one sigh through the mouth, let it all out. Feel yourself melting onto the floor. And then when you feel ready, you can lift up your legs, keeping the knees separate, and start to bring them towards the armpits. Now, you might need to lift up your back, which needs to move as a result of this movement. It also stretches out a wee bit, so you might need to accommodate the length that is created. So whenever you feel you need to lift up to, as I say, just bring a little bit more extension to the back. Just feel free to do so. So from there, we're going to create 90 degrees between the shin and the femur. Not exactly the most elegant position in the world, I know. But let's just enjoy its benefits, which above all are from the point of view of the back. So just feel this back extending along the floor, widening along the floor. And every breath allows this to happen even more so. And then you can either take hold of the back of your knees and start to bring the knees as much as you can down towards the armpits. Now, for some of us, they just go down automatically. For others, we've got either blocks in our hips or in our back. So whatever it is, just do the best you can. The outer shoulders are coming down on the floor as you exhale, bringing the knees towards the armpits. Now, if this is easy, you can just grab the outer part of the feet and keep on doing the same thing. And every now and then release, allow yourself to release even more so, thanks to exhalations that are akin to sighing. Your feet should be, if not parallel, almost parallel, and they should also be active at all times. So separate the toes, push the base of the big toe towards the ceiling, allowing the base of the little toe to come down towards the face. So that is non-negotiable, the feet. As soon as you stop working the feet, you'll feel it very much so in the hips. And we need the hips to be nice and active here. Okay, and then maybe you can close that 90-degree bend, bring your knees close to one another, and just do a supported sort of Virasana for a moment. Feel the difference of expression the back now has. Before we had our legs separated and doing 90 degrees. Now our legs are together and are closed. Very, very different, the sensation in the back. So one part of the body is permanently being expressed in another part of the body, and of course vice versa. So there's this permanent interdependency between all parts of the body. And that's why every little technical advice that's given is really, really important to follow, just simply because it has an impact on the entire organism. Sigh, and then let's just do this one more time. So whether you want to grab behind your knees, or maybe you want to bring your thighs close towards the ground, or whether you prefer to catch hold of the outer edges of the feet. Just feel this connection, active foot, active hip, and allow the back to be ironed out on the floor. Now, if you're thinking, what is this all about? I can't feel a thing, then I advise you to get a little less support under the bottom. So you might want a yoga block or brick, or maybe you don't want any support at all. It's always a good idea to experiment in any case. And then just come back into the supported Supta Vajrasana, legs close together, hugging the knees. And then exhale and bring your feet down towards the ground. Now, as I said before, we can experiment with different heights. So for everyone, we're now just going to come off the brick or the support that you have down onto the ground. Lift your head with your hands and get something a little bit less thick to support yourself with. So I'm getting a yoga block. Maybe you want two, maybe you want nothing. And then we'll just do this baby pose just one more time, and this time observing the difference that this lower support gives us. So 90 degrees, active feet. Again, if you need to accommodate the length going into your back, please just lift up your back a little bit off the ground. Get that length going back behind you, and then just return to the ground. If you want to take hold of the outer edges of your feet, just do so. And then feel the whole of the back, with the exception of the neck section, melt down onto the ground. Feet parallel and active. Keep on making sure the feet communicate at all times with the hips. And then just return back to Supta Vajrasana, legs together, hugging the knees. And then you can just come down, lift your hips off the support, bring your bottom down to the ground, hands on the tummy, and just take a moment to feel. So we're going to try a bent leg position known as Virasana, which even a year after my operation, still I've got to be really careful of. If you have knee issues that are painful, I would advise you not to do this. Rather, I would ask you just simply to work on your Vajrasana, where you're sitting on your heels like so, knees together. And if you need support because the knees are sore, then you just put support between your heels and your bottom. If, however, you're able to control your knees, or indeed you don't have knee problems, then Virasana is for you. And regardless of your position, it's still really interesting to see the variety of positions on offer and the technique, so I would still watch anyhow. So for Virasana, regardless of whether you have knee issues or not, get something like a bolster, a nice cushion, because we're going to use that as a support. And to enter into it, we're just going to briefly have our knees separate under the hips, grab the support, bring it in between your feet. Now your feet are in line with your hips, just straight back and flat on the floor. I'll turn around in a minute so you can see. But what I want for you to do is just simply sit down on the bolster like so. You have an anterior pelvic tilt coming along here, okay? And then when you're sitting comfortably, you can bring both knees together.
Now that's also a lot of stretch on the feet, so if your feet are suffering, I'll give you a tip in just a minute to help you with that. But for now, this supported Virasana is where we're going to stay. So sigh, and as you sigh, you feel the weight coming down while your spine moves up. Feel the stretch across your feet, your ankles, your tibia, your knees. Any kind of knee stiffness, knee issues, I'd advise you to lift up the skin of one knee and then lift up the skin of the other. It's a really good thing to do just to relieve any sensation of tightness, and then move back to Virasana. Again, you might want to put your hands on both points of the torso. Feel that solar plexus moving up towards the ceiling and adding strength as a result to the central part of your body. And now we can expand upon this idea of the torso by putting your hands on your hips, exhaling and bringing your elbows behind you. You'll feel the scapula, the shoulder blades moving in towards one another. And you'll feel this explosion of chest opening. So it's very expansive. And then you have to regulate this expansion by mentally returning in just one moment to the lower abdomen and making sure it's still coming in. And then to have a break, we can just lift ourselves off, bring our hands in front and stretch one leg back, and then stretch the other leg back. Now we'll do Virasana again, but this time I personally am going to reduce my support, and I'm going to have a brick at position 2, not position 1, position 2 for now. Under me, you decide what you want to do, whether you want to stay on the support that you originally had, or you want to see how things progress, entering more deeply into the position. So let's go. Just coming up, separating our knees a minute, making sure feet are in line with the knees. Get the support, bring it under your bottom, and then you can start to sit down like so. Make sure you're comfortable. And then also we need not a retroversion like so, but a slight anteversion, which brings the thighs into the hips. And then the last thing to do is to bring the knees together. Now actually the big toes should be kind of looking towards one another, and that creates a little bit of a external ankle stretch. So if you can get that tiny little aspect in, good and well. If you can't, it's okay anyhow. And then return back to the 2 points of your torso, or even better, just return back to putting the hands on your hips, and on the next exhalation, regulating everything with the lower abdomen that continues moving in towards the spine. The elbows come back, and you once again return to this blossoming of the chest. Breathe. Make sure your head is in line with your back. The temptation is often to bring it forward, and that kind of hurts your neck. So observe. And then you can come out again, stretching one leg back. And then stretching the other leg back as well. Now for many of us, the foot is a problem. So if you have feet issues, what you can do is get either a blanket, a towel, or maybe a part of your yoga mat, and make a kind of tiny little sausage. and put it under the neck of the ankle like so. And the more thick the sausage is, the more of a support you will get. And that takes a lot of the tension off your ankles. Now you can do this also in Virasana, but it's obviously the same thing, Virasana or Virasana. It's still the same support. Okay, now let's do Virasana again with the ankle support that I've just suggested if you need it. I'm going to reduce this further. I'm going to come to position 1. You might decide you want to come and place your bottom on the ground. Again, some of us could sleep in this position, and some of us just agonize. We're all different. Okay, now if the knee is any kind of problem, remember, lift the skin of the knee one at a time. Lift it right off. Bring your knees together. And then feel the movement of the anteversion, which starts as a result to enact favorably on the torso. Now this time, instead of putting hands onto the hips, we'll just interlace our fingers. And then on the next exhalation, we'll just come up like so. Don't lean back. Keep the chest coming forward and up. And breathe. Every exhalation, allow the weight of your body to move down while it liberates your torso and your arms. So there's 2 directions, weight going down and the upper half of your body floating away towards the ceiling. Change the clasp of your hands. Feel the weight coming into your feet, into the ankles, the tibia, the knees. Feel the stretch in the thighs. And also feel the thighs moving strongly and deeply into your hips. And then you can just come down with your hands. And then move out and just stretch your legs. Being aware of the breathing. And also appreciating the contrast between, on the one hand, intensely bent legs, and on the other, such as when we're stretching out our legs here, intensely stretched legs. So now I want to play around with Prasarita Padottanasana and Uttanasana, 2 positions that are renowned for having extremely straight legs. Now I want to do it with straight legs, but I also want to play around between straight versus bent, also because with that action we then return back to this idea of communicating between feet and the hips. You'll see what I mean. Let's get going. You might need a couple of bricks to put under your hands. So feet are parallel, in line. Make sure they are parallel. Distance between the feet, one of your legs. And then you might want to start off, if you have difficulties with the stretching the back of your legs, you might want to start off with something under your hands like so. So first things first, push down with the base of the big toe, the little toe, and the center part of the heel. Separate the toes, really feel the feet in action, and therefore the arches of the foot working. Now you can see that at the moment I've got a micro bend in the legs. That's great, just do that micro bend. And then what I want you to envisage is, on the one hand, your pelvis is going directly back behind you, and on the other hand, the rest of your body, led by the solar plexus, is coming in front. So just feel that dual action happening. And then you can start to straighten your legs without changing that dual action. So keep envisaging the the pelvis moving back behind, the solar plexus moving forward. Keep on activating the feet, spreading the toes, and also the kneecaps are sucked up in towards the hips. Now, obviously, if you don't need the bricks or you need something lower for the hands, just do it. But I want to do more than anything else an Ardha Prasarita Padottanasana, Ardha, which means half. So the back should be straight in the sense that the lower abdomen gets sucked in towards the spine and the solar plexus is moving forward and towards the head. Same old, essentially. Now from here, without changing that torso in any way, we're going to quite significantly bend our legs. But again, I'm wanting to maintain that dual action pelvis, solar plexus. And feel what that does to the hips. Now don't allow the feet to start moving. You still need to maintain the feet in a parallel situation. Oftentimes what happens is the heels start to slide and move around. Don't let that happen. And then on the next exhalation, suck the feet and the legs in towards the hips, maintaining the feet, the parallel feet, and come back into this Ardha Prasarita Padottanasana. Pelvis behind, solar plexus moving forward. And again, bend your legs and maintain that dual action in the torso and pelvis. Bend as much or as little as you want. Make sure you don't disturb the feet in any way. And then you can straighten your legs. Now what we're going to do here is start to walk in a very strange manner. So first of all, heels coming towards one another, then toes, heels, toes, heels, toes, until your feet are under your hips, parallel, and you might need more of a support under your hands, that being the case, so just to get what you need. So as I say, feet are parallel under the hips. Leave a micro bend also here. And then just go to feeling, again, this dual action. Pelvis behind you, solar plexus coming forward. And then that dual action does not change, nor do the heels change at all when we straighten our legs. Breathe. And that straightening of the leg should give you the sensation that the legs are doing nothing other than entering the hips. And then what I want you to do is the same thing that we did in Prasarita Padottanasana, where we're going to start to significantly bend our legs. Maybe so much so that you can touch your elbows with your knees. I'm going to, at this point, move to the side so you can see a little bit better. Now again, oftentimes the heels just start to slide together. If you don't know what I mean, you start off parallel and they slide together like this. So if that's happening, it's not particularly good. It's certainly not great for the knees, and I would suggest you do this with some kind of book or brick which forces the heels to remain like so. So try it. So we were there bending our legs with our hands in front and maybe also our knees touching the elbows. So now, without changing radically, if at all, your pelvis, start to straighten the legs. So if you need to work up really, really high, then that's absolutely great. What you don't want to be doing is starting off with your legs bent like this, and then when you straighten your legs, your torso comes up like so. It's just pointless. So keep working high. Bend your legs again. Feel the hips moving behind you, solar plexus moving in front. And then when you start to straighten your legs, don't drastically change your torso in any way. And maybe you don't want to totally straighten the legs, that's fine. And then one more time, bending the legs, knees moving towards the arms. Feel the feet parallel. Feel this connection between feet and hips. And then straightening your legs, putting your hands on your hips, still keeping the pelvis moving behind as the solar plexus comes forward in the opposite direction. And then you can just stand up and have a break. So we're going to go back to lying down on the ground and doing some bent cross-legged work on the floor. So let yourself go on the ground, enjoy. And then we're just going to lift up the right leg and cross it over the left leg in a tight cross. So it's a bit like lying on the beach, you know? And just spend a moment there feeling both hips still solidly on the ground. That doesn't necessarily happen, so bring your awareness to that area and just make sure that is indeed the case. Maybe you need to move your left foot more towards the center of the pelvis to get that sensation. And then on the next exhalation, lift up both legs and activate immediately both feet. And start to move those knees up towards the chest. Now with your hands, you can just grab your knees. And if you are at all concerned about the symmetry of the position, just move in whatever way you have to get back to that symmetry. Every exhalation, keeping your feet really active, you're going to move those knees closer and closer towards your chest without lifting your buttocks. So feel the involvement not only of the spine here, but also in the hips. Accommodate the length that you're creating in the spine by moving your head up or your shoulders up off the floor. Breathe into the hips and allow release to be created. And then on the next exhalation, you can just come down and go back to having your legs parallel, hands on your belly. And then let's do the other side. So left leg over the right leg. Maybe bring your right foot towards the kind of center of your body. I feel the heaviness of both buttocks on the ground. Enjoy that giving of your weight. And then on the next exhalation, just lift up both your legs and immediately activate both feet. And start to bring the knees towards the chest. And you can help yourself by capturing your knees with your hands. Try to keep
the shoulder blades on the ground. This is really important. If that's really, really difficult, then I suggest you get not your knees but your thighs, and that means that you can really open the shoulders as much as possible onto the ground. If you don't have that problem, just take your knees and keep on activating the feet. Empty every now and then your belly. And then you can just bring slowly but surely your feet onto the ground. Separate your legs. Put your hands on your belly. Take a deep sigh. And release down onto the ground.